Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, I have a team selection draft and interestingly, hear me out, it's a bench boost game week 1 draft, which I genuinely am looking at for this season and I'll explain why in today's video. If you are enjoying the content here on this channel and you get any value from today's video, please do consider subscribing. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So guys, as I said, in today's video, we are looking at a game week 1 bench boost draft. Now, the reason for this and the justification for a bench boost in game week 1 is that I genuinely do believe a lot of the time, a bench boost can actually negatively impact your season, even if you feel like you've nailed it. Now, hear me out for this. In the last 2 seasons, I've absolutely nailed the bench boost. And by that, I mean, I got 33 points last season. This is on YouTube, and 31 points the year before that. So if you are new to FPL, or maybe you're not and you just want to recap, over 30 points is ridiculously strong for a bench boost. I would say that you're probably aiming for around 20 to 25 points. Above 25 is really, really good. Below 20, and I say you are probably slightly disappointed there, anything below 15 would be a bit of a failure. So let's say that on a really good season, let's say even optimistically, you hit 35 to 40 points, which I've never managed to do myself. It's not just about the specific week that you bench boost. Yes, you might gain 35 to 40 points by having your bench boost in game week 29, but what have you had to sacrifice to get that bench boost? A lot of the time, you have to take hits. Last season, and now this will put it more into context, I took a -8 or a -12 the week that I bench boosted in order to get a slightly better bench. I also wildcarded at a specific time in order to get a decent bench boost for a future game week. The season before that, I wildcarded directly before the bench boost. So I'm not necessarily wasting the best chip in FPL, but I'm utilizing the best chip in FPL, which is your wildcard and specifically your second wildcard, in an attempt to try and maximize the bench boost chip, which in all honesty is probably going to get you around 25 points. It probably feels like quite a backward way of doing it because, like I said, the wildcard is the best chip you can possibly have. Should you not use that to just try and get the best team you can towards the back end of the season and in the first half of the season for wildcard 1, 2? The idea behind this team is that you completely scrap the idea that a bench boost is a brilliant chip. You play it in game week 1. And let's say even if it's a bit of a failure in game week 1, let's say it only gets you 12 points. And they can get you a lot less, by the way. They can get you 4 or 5. But let's say they get you 12 points. One of your players gets 1 return and the others just pick up their appearance points. That is only about 13 points-ish off what I would say is a good bench boost towards the back end of the season. However, from that point on, if you have any spare transfers at any point, you can start to take money off of your bench. And for wildcard 1 and wildcard 2 in particular, you don't have to worry about the bench at all. I like the idea of it. I don't think you'll end up losing points. I actually think you'll end up maximizing points in the back end of the season. So at the moment, I am starting to think more and more about a bench boost in game week 1. Let me know down below in the comments. A bit of a rant at the start of this video. Have I done a good job at convincing you about the possibility of using a bench boost in game week 1? Or are you still going to save it for a later double game week? With all of that being said, today's video is a bench boost draft. We are lining up in a 3-5-2. I've got 0.5 million in the bank. And the idea for this draft is not to try and do anything different. I'm not trying to go in there with 10 differentials in my team. I'm going in there with a very strong at points template team, but with a bench that I think can score points. The other thing that I've got in this team is I'm trying to maximize points in game week 1. The idea behind a bench boost in game week 1 is also you get off to a really hot start, and it's really nice to have a strong start in FPL. So not only is it a bench boost, if I've got any 50-50 decisions between players, I've also selected the player with a better game week 1 fixture. So the idea behind this is that you have a team that will get off to an absolute flyer in game week 1. This team, because I can't actually plug the bench boost in at the moment on Fantasy Football Hub, is currently rated at 94%. But with the bench points, it's predicted to get 83 points in game week 1. If you do want to get your team rated for free, you can do so by clicking the first link in the description. Completely free. You can get an AI rating for your team right now. And if you do want to sign up to get the premium benefits, and there are tons of them, there is a link in the description to 50% off. First 2 links, you'll get both of those things. So in goal at the moment, and I'll reveal the bench at the end, I've got Jordan Pickford. Now, I don't think that Pickford's in my top 2 or 3 goalkeepers at the moment. However, I do still think he's a good option. Everton have excellent fixtures to start the season, and I do like the fact that he's got a home fixture against Fulham, and I do believe Fulham will be a team that struggled this season, more so than last season. I think that's a really nice opening fixture, and on a bench boost, I don't think you want more than 2 £4.5 million goalkeepers. So at the moment, Pickford gets the nod in net, and I'm not going to discuss this to death. The back line is Shaw, Estepinian, and Gabriel. These are 3 players that we've discussed in detail All of them have home fixtures, and all of them are excellent options in FPL. Luke Shaw, despite the fact that Onana will probably come in at 5 million, I still feel like Luke Shaw is excellent value at 5.5. Estepinian and Gabriel are, in my opinion, the two best £5 million defenders. They've both got some attacking threat. They've both got decent fixtures over the first 3 or 4 game weeks. And I feel like both teams are definitely teams that can keep clean sheets as well. So I feel like it's a very, very strong start to the Game Week 1 bench boost. Let's move on to the midfield. So 3 players that I've spoken about to death in this midfield, and I don't really need to speak about much more, is Rashford, Matoma, and Saka. All 3 of them, again, with home fixtures. Again, I've got Manchester United, Brighton, and Arsenal players in the defence and the midfield almost mirrored there. They've all got nice fixtures. They've all got really decent data. Rashford in particular, really, really strong data. Matoma's definitely improved. Saka has penalties. I don't really need to discuss why those 3 are in my team. And again, they're in a lot of your teams as well. Let me know down below in the comments if you have Rashford, Matoma, and Saka in your midfield at the moment. The other 2, I think there are a lot of options that you could go for at those price points. Foden at 7.5. I feel like you've got Maddison. I've actually got 0.5 in the bank here, so if you don't go for Gabriel Jesus, you could even switch to a Martinelli for the Foden spot if you wanted to. You could go all the way down to Mbeumo at 6.5. You could go for Raheem Sterling at 7. There are tons of options, but for me, as I said, this team is about maximising points in Game Week 1, as well as having a strong team moving forward. And Foden against Burnley away, I think he'll get the nod in Game Week 1. We should get early team news as well, because Manchester City is the early kickoff in Game Week 1, and I just really like the look of Foden there. And then the 6.5 that I've chosen to go alongside Matoma, it is usually Brian Mbeumo, but again, if we're trying to maximise points in Game Week 1, I don't mind the fixture for Brian Mbeumo, but Eze against Sheffield United away looks like a really nice fixture, and I'm not seeing him in a ton of drafts. I do think that Mbeumo and Matoma are both better £6.5 million options, but I do fancy Eze in that opening fixture. So again, with the idea of making this team get off to an absolute flyer in Game Week 1, Eze, Foden, Matoma, Saka, Rashford looks like an absolutely banging midfield. And I think all 5 of those have the potential to haul in Game Week 1. That's the midfield. Let's move on to the 2 forwards and take a look at the bench. So moving on to the 2 forwards and the bench, I don't really need to discuss the 2 forwards because, again, they've been in every single one of my drafts, and I'm pretty sure they're in all of your drafts as well. And that is Erling Haaland and Gabriel Jesus. Again, if we're focusing specifically on Game Week 1, I do really like Gabriel Jesus against Forest at home. Also, if you want to look into the home and away data for Arsenal, maybe we'll do that for a few different teams. But Arsenal have really, really strong home form. And we know that Saka and Jesus have the best data at home as well. So if you are trying to pick 2 attackers that play very, very well at home and will accumulate most of the chances, based on last season at least, it is probably Saka and Gabriel Jesus. With the bench, I will hold my hands up. This is not the world's strongest bench. It's also not a bench that will come close to competing with your bench later on in the season in a double game week. And I'm not claiming that it will. I've openly said that I expect this bench to get you 12 to 15 points, maybe more if you're lucky. It could even get you as little as sort of 7 or 8. But even if it gets you, let's say 10 points. One of them gets an assist. They get the appearance points. And like I said, that bench later on in the season gets you 30 or 35. Yes, you're losing 20, 25 points, but you need to think about what else you've had to sacrifice. On your second wildcard, you can take all of the money off of the bench and put all of it into your starting 11. So you may well gain points. It's difficult to measure, but you can't look at it as black and white as bench boost game week 1 versus bench boost this week. It's also the surrounding weeks too. And I would say that this is a strong bench. At the moment, I've got Johnston on the bench to couple with Pickford. You can put them whichever way round you want. The 2 defenders that I've got at £4.5 million each is Tarkowski and Botman. Of course, I do have 0.5 in the bank here, so you could go for another £5 million defender or upgrade one of the other players if you wanted to. But I feel like Tarkowski against Fulham at home, he's a real serious goal threat from corners. He's got really strong data, as we'll speak about throughout pre-season as well, and really strong fixtures over the opening few. So you've got a really strong start to the season there with Tarkowski. And whilst Botman doesn't have the most attacking threat, and it's not an easy fixture against Villa away, you are covering the Newcastle defence, which not a lot of people will be able to do. And Newcastle were super strong defensively last season. They're actually second best in the league for expected goals conceded. So I like the idea of Botman, but there are other 4.5s that you can go for if you want to. You could back Henry against Tottenham at home. You could go for a number of other 4.5s, but I like those 2 for attacking threat with Tarkowski and potential clean sheet with Botman. And then the attacker that is currently on the bench is Ferguson. And it's one of the main reasons that I love this Game Week 1 bench boost, because Ferguson is a player where when he plays, he puts up great data, and I expect him to score goals. And I do think he'll score a lot of goals this season for Brighton. I don't think he'll start every game, though. The reason I love this draft is you don't need him to, other than Game Week 1, because after Game Week 1, he can sit on your bench and rotate in if you think he's going to start. He can maybe rotate with Eze, especially in Game Week 2. You can put Ferguson back in for Eze if it looks like he'll start. All you need is that starting game week 1, and we should have that information based on pre-season. And I do think that Ferguson is first choice striker, so I expect him to play against Luton at home, and that is a brilliant opening fixture for Ferguson to try and stake his claim as the number 9 for Brighton. I really, really like this team. I agree with Hub that this could score 83 points, potentially even more than that. I don't think you're sacrificing the starting 11 that much, really. I've still got 0.5 in the bank. The bench isn't stacked with money, but it's good enough to score points. The midfield is still really strong, and you've still got players at really nice price points. You've got Rashford at 9, Saka at 8.5, Foden at 7.5, and 2 6.5s. The defence has the good price points. You've got the same forwards as everyone else. There's not a lot to dislike about this draft. I personally love it. Let me know down below in the comments. Have I convinced you, or at least made you start to think about playing a bench boost in game week 1? Let's make a deal. If I've maybe made you think a little bit about a bench boost in game week 1, drop a like on the video and make sure to subscribe. If I haven't, drop a comment down below and explain why I haven't quite convinced you. So guys, there you have it. That is my bench boost game week 1 draft. Do let me know down below in the comments what you think of it. And if you have enjoyed today's video, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are on the road to 80,000 subscribers. And like I said, make sure to check out Fantasy Football Hub. You can get your team rated for free at the moment. And you can also get 50% off if you use the link in the description. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.